Tomorrow, Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz will face off in the first and likely only vice presidential debate. The debate comes as both parties ramp up their rhetoric on the campaign trail, hoping to swing undecided voters with just weeks to the election. Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham has the latest.
Both campaigns ramping up their pre-debate strategy ahead of this week's vice presidential debate. It'll be the first time that the two running mates share the stage in the national spotlight, and it's clear based on what we're hearing from both campaigns that preparation has been in the works for weeks. Republicans held a press call Monday morning to discuss their strategy. They made clear the plan to tie Tim Walz to what they described as radical policies. For Vance, it seems a major focus will be the economy. Several speakers talked directly about taxes and inflation and attempted to tie the Biden-Harris administration to post-pandemic economic strain. One speaker on the call was Majority Whip and Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer, who's reportedly been playing Tim Walz in Vance's debate prep. Emmer went in on the governor's friendly persona, which he indicated is mostly showmanship.
Tim Walz is nothing more than Gavin Newsom in a flannel shirt. I served with Walz in the House for 4 years until he was elected governor of Minnesota in 2018, and I can tell you that he is a total fraud.
But at a Harris campaign event in St. Paul focused on abortion, several speakers defended Walz's character.
Every single person who's ever interacted with him or, was his student or has worked with him in the legislature or in Congress knows that who we see is exactly who he is.
The Harris event honed in on reproductive health care rights. The event came just hours after the Harris campaign launched a full-fledged attack on Trump's health care policy, which likely indicates that abortion and health care will be at the center of the campaign for the Harris campaign going forward. Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.